for everyone that has come tonight. So for people that have just come online as well, I do thank you. I thank you for taking this time out today. I'll just grab my computer. For people that missed the start, my name is Trish Jarvis and I'm the Executive Officer for Catholic Schools Parents of South Australia. Tonight I'm going to start with an acknowledgement of country.
Acknowledge the land here in Goodwood today. The Kaurna people cared for land, the animals, the plants and each other a long time ago.
And this is still important.
This is still important.
To the Kaurna people today.
To the Kaurna people today.
And for the future.
And for the future. We thank them for sharing it with us.
So I do thank you for coming tonight, online and in person. I'm not sure about you, but it definitely feels like for some reason we are in the week before Christmas. Everything's frantic, everything is busy and everything's manic. And I am definitely that mum, wife, friend, parent, employee who continues to say to you, it's going to be okay, because this week I've just got to do this and next week will be better. So if you are in that same situation, I thank you. So I thank you for taking that time to come here tonight. I'm going to lead us in prayer next.
No, links there.
No, I'm not. Okay. So I'm going to lead us in prayer. So again, I welcome you to take that deep breath, to center yourself, and although that you do have 600 things going on in your mind and things are racing, this you should know is where you're supposed to be and you're meant to be right now. November is a month of remembrance. Yesterday we had All Saints' Day. Today is All Souls' Day, where we acknowledge our family, friends, loved ones, and everyone that has gone before us. And next week we also have Remembrance Day. So tonight I intend to lead you in a prayer for this. A prayer for All Souls' Day. Their lives change, but they do not end. On this day, we are called to remember those who have died, particularly those who have died in the past year. And we pray for their joyful reunion with you, their loving Creator. As your Son taught us to call the stranger, neighbour, our fallen are many. Names we will never know, voices we may never have heard, and in lands we may never visit. Yet brothers and sisters, they are all. And so we pray for them. Now I will move straight on to introduce our speaker. Many of you know Mark Le Messurier. He's a teacher, he's a counsellor, he's an author, he's a public speaker, and we are very lucky to have him here tonight. He is passionate about creating real community, socially, emotionally, and literate cultures in classrooms. He, along with notable others, believes it falls to us to create safe places where students are in classrooms can connect, can share, and feel as though they matter, and they're encouraged to explore their emerging worlds together. This topic was chosen prior to my family driving to Canberra with a caravan on our last holidays. We got 3 flat tyres on that drive, which extended our time by 10 hours and extended our screen time by 10 hours. So this is very welcomed, and I'm here to learn, so I welcome Mark. Thank you.
Yeah, I like that. Oh. Beautiful. Welcome. Welcome to those of you online, at home, probably in bed, probably in your jammies, probably with a glass of wine, while we've braved the elements. But you are all welcome, and it's lovely to see you. Tonight is probably one of my most favourite workshops. I will stop a couple of times and ask for a little bit of feedback from people in the audience. No pressure, okay? If you don't feel like it, you don't have to, and I won't do those awkward silences. It'll be okay. But tonight is about stopping for a moment thinking, reviewing, and maybe, if you need to, resetting the thinking about the way you manage your children's love for screens, social media, devices, YouTube, all things internet. My focus is really to explore your style, or a style that actually gets that tricky tech and real life balance right for our kids. But right from the start, right now, I'm going to burst a bubble. There are no quick or easy answers to this. So if that really deflates you, I'll stop for a moment and allow you to leave. Some of you will face extraordinary difficulties with your children over this. Some of you are probably already in a world of pain. All of us face ongoing work, and that's the bottom line. And the likely scenario for each of you in this room as parents is that you will achieve periods of success. You will be wonderful in short little bursts, and you can pat yourselves on the back. But there will also be raging disagreements. There will be arguments as you navigate your way through the biggest unregulated, psychological and social experiment the world has actually ever seen. Good. But before we start talking about the kids, can we just be truthful? Because this obsession, this reliance on screens, it's not just for the kids. Too many of us, we're caught up with gaming, social media, and employment responsibilities on devices. Interestingly, there's a cost to this. And the cost is that valuable little parcels of time that was once reserved for our kids, our partners, our family, gets insidiously swallowed up. A parent's thoughts and time are now shared between what's happening on their device and being connected to people who most matter in their lives. Come on, you've been in front of that screen before when your partner or someone's asked you something. You've kind of heard, you've kind of responded without any real engagement. In actual fact, you didn't have a clue what they really said and what they wanted. And our vague, irritated tone hints at our detachment. And we each know that this is very real, but we convince ourselves that, well, it is just the way it is and I can multitask. So this evening, you won't find me ranting about the curse of devices, conspiracy theories about the internet or screen addiction. That's not to say screen addiction does not exist. For a few, it really does. And quite seriously, the internet offers a stunning blend of the good, the bad, and the very, very ugly. And we all need to keep this in perspective. It's made life extraordinarily easier, faster and cheaper, whether it be banking, business, medical, shopping, entertainment, communication with others, instant help in emergencies, access to knowledge and data unparalleled in human history. My goal is to encourage you to stay grounded. That's code for stay sane. And to also keep your eye on what I call the greatest prize. And this is really what tonight's about. The greatest prize? Wow, it's your kids. because your kids are a generation who will have screens in their lives for the rest of their lives. The greatest prize is maintaining a healthy relationship with them, because without a healthy, buoyant relationship with your kids, you can't chip away and find that balance that's required between screen fun, screen work, and everything that goes with real life. And to do this, our kids actually need us on their side, not against them, not bickering and attacking what they actually enjoy. When we arrogantly fight them, we're more likely to turn their natural desire for screens into a crazed chase for forbidden fruit. Yes, limits on screens, absolutely necessary. But the goal and the method must all be about managing time and nothing else. Never belittling their interests and damaging your relationship with them. With that said, let's begin. Step up, step up, step up, my beautiful friends, to the greatest show on earth. Get ready to marvel at the unexpected, the unpredictable, the unregulated, and the unquenchable. Make no mistake, this gigantic spectacle inside the big top is truly astonishing. When you enter this big top, the internet and everything that goes with it, every part of the world, plus all of your fantasies, will be yours. Come on in. Here in this big top, you don't just watch. No, you're not passive, you're active. You become part of the show. We can take your ordinary little life and upgrade it to exciting and daring proportions. If you dare, seek and you shall find. This three-ring circus is programmed to capture every little bit of you. Oh yes. We can change your thinking and your life because we are all things internet in here. Here are our ringmasters. There are more, but these are the big four. And everything you do on the net is being engineered, controlled, and manipulated by these American multi-billionaires. They say, do not believe our critics because they want to discredit our three-ring circus. They'll tell you there are enough people on the planet who want something or everything in the circus, and that's why it has a right to exist. And privately, they'll share their commercial goal. It is to capture your attention, to keep you in front of the screen so they can work out how you use the internet, how you spend your time, what you look at, what you listen to, what you buy, so they can sell you more. Our ringmasters are here to make profits. And to do this, they have designed social media platforms to track and feed every idea and compulsion that you have. We are the products they sell to. And just quietly between you and I, this is what we must be teaching our children. Not beating them over the head with it, because that turns them off. But sharing quietly in opportune moments how the internet is set up, how it works, why it exists. be patient, play the long game with your kids. Now we're inside this big top. It's the internet and everything that comes with it, including YouTube. Let me take you to the first ring of the 3-ring circus. Don't worry, we'll visit all 3 rings and more this evening, I promise. The first is Omegle. It's an unregulated website that clearly says it's monitored and regulated. Deceptive, eh? Perfect for a circus because of its trickery and illusion. Many kids start to use it around 9, 10, 11 years of age. You just hop straight on. It's easy to use. You don't even have to register. There's no proof of your age, reason, or sanity. And you don't even have to read to be able to use it. It's a website where you can talk to strangers. It's a playground of strangers bursting to play with anything, with anyone, in any way. Oh, especially with children. Globally, it's popular. There's a chat and video option, so you can see and type to each other. And some chats start with a dare or a command from a stranger. Take your pants off. Show me your legs. Show me your nipples. Show me your tits. Show me more. And I know lots of young teens who use this site for dares, having fun together. It's a popular site to hit with friends in your bedroom, away from parents, while hosting a sleepover. Users see lots of men's genitals and delight in dares. This site is primarily built for adults to engage with anyone in a myriad of sexual ways. And you know that when children and teens see more likes or dares on photos or videos of risky behaviour, there's significantly less activity in the prefrontal cortex. Now, the prefrontal cortex, as you well know, is the thinking part of the brain, and it's responsible for self-control and good judgment. Suddenly, this activity switches away from the prefrontal cortex to the amygdala, which is responsible for emotions and action. What happens in the part of the brain that is capable of warning kids of danger is basically switched off, and it leaves them vulnerable to trends, to peer pressure, and to other forces. Meet my dear friend Paul. Omegle is the site that did his head in, and it changed the course of his life. It triggered him to walk away from the Western Australia Police Force and dedicate his life to increasing online safety for children in a way that the police force could not do. Paul often says, "We are the canaries in the digital coal mine. We're part of an experiment that we know too little about, don't know what it's doing to us, and don't know where it will take us. But we're all on this ride together." As for the Omegle site and similar others, Paul says they're depraved playgrounds that groom kids, sucks young people and vulnerable children right in. These sites bring home that the internet was not built for children, but now children use the internet in droves. Let's move to the second fantabulous ring, here under the big top. Oh yes, we have so many more things about the internet and devices that will astound you In this ring, the ringmasters will tell you that you'll never be alone. And this is because through the wonder of the internet and your device, you'll have new and beautiful friends at your fingertips day, and if your parents aren't aware of it, all night. The research says the ringmasters in the circus are targeting the younger generations and finding ways to keep them in front of a screen for longer and longer. And just look at that data on the screen. They are enjoying spectacular success with our kids. In 2021, the average Australian teenager spent more time on their devices than sleeping and studying put together. And this is a fact. And the ringmasters are spending billions here at the circus to keep kids on those devices as long as possible. The World Health Organisation's screen time recommendation says adults should spend less than 2 hours per day on screens outside of work. It's 1 hour a day for kids aged 2 to 5. It's less than 2 hours a day for kids aged 5 to 12 outside of school. Our ringmasters, well, they just scoff at the opinion of the World Health Organisation because they have surpassed those recommendations by far. You'll also hear well-regarded experts say the more time you spend on the internet, the lonelier you are. The more friends you have on social media, the lonelier you are. The more time you spend on a computer, the lonelier you are. Here's an email I received from Eloise. She's a lovely 15-year-old client that I've worked with for a number of years and have a very good relationship with. And I wonder whether you've had similar conversations with your own kids, with students that you might work with, or with yourself. Here's her email to me. Hi, Mark. You know that, like everyone my age, I spend a lot of time on social media platforms. I've got 5 favourites. It's a big part of my generation's life. It's what we do. I hate it, but I'm tied to do it. I watch my friends' posts. They make me feel small, empty, and nothing. I wanted to share my usual string of thoughts when I look at their posts, because I want to talk to you about them in our next session. Their life is perfect, mine's not. I'm nothing. Why do I do this? I like no one. No one likes me. I want out. There's no feeling in this. I should cut myself to feel. I hate all of this. It's too much. Why am I here? I shouldn't be here. I can't keep up with them. I have no purpose. I'm a waste of space. Now I'm starting to feel scared. How do I stop these thoughts? How do I separate real life from social media? Or is social media also real life for my generation? Meanwhile, back in the big top, the ringmasters aren't too worried about Eloise or any of her friends because they already rule the world. And there's a couple of facts to prove it. There are more devices in Australian schools than any other OECD country. Australian students spend more time on the internet than students in any other OECD country. As a part consequence, our Year 12 students are currently a year and a half behind where we would like them to be. Do you know the average Australian looks at their phone 221 times a day. That's once every 4 minutes. But the ringmasters in the big top start on parents and children very early in life. Now, 42% of Australian 2-year-olds have access to a digital device. 94% of Australian kids, by the time they are 4, have access to a digital device. Most Australian kids have a device in their hands by 10 months. They can swipe and find the right cartoon on a device before they can walk or talk. Devices are designed to be pleasurable, intuitive, reward-based feedback and a reward-based feedback loop. Devices feel soothing and satisfying. Don't believe me? Well, I've got a dear friend. He's my doctor. He puts up with me. And he ran his own experiment with his 18-month-old daughter. She was hungry. She was thirsty. So in that moment, he had an idea to run an experiment, and it was very spontaneous. He headed off to the kitchen and he prepared a drink and snacks of amazing treats she's rarely allowed to have. He brought them to her and he popped them on the table and he put his phone next to them as well. And then he said, "Izzy, just one, the snack or Daddy's phone?" In a blink, you know the outcome. She grabbed the phone. She put hunger and thirst and the most amazing special treats on hold and played and played and played. And he sat back to watch how long she would play for. She was engrossed. He'd lost his little girl to her device. She was virtually in the device. By the way, Simon's work was not original. There are plenty of studies to reflect exactly what happened to Izzy. The digital world has changed our behaviour, our routines, and our expectations. Now it's common to see devices invited to dinner at home. It's becoming more common for kids to grab food, retreat to their bedrooms, and eat alone while they're on their device. These same kids will tell you they prefer to text message because it's easier and it's what everyone else does now too. They will also share that now for them it's much harder to do face-to-face work with others. They say the online me and the texting me sounds more confident. And this is exactly what the research is reflecting. It is that frequent internet use is now directly associated with a decrease in verbal intelligence. Thanks to the power of the amazing three-ring circus, we now find screens in restaurants, in toilets, still in toilets. We walk, we jog, we run, we talk with phones and devices strapped to us or in our hands. Screens are so compelling that we'll even watch a screen while we're using other screens. Little screens love going to meet big screens at the movies. And when we're on the run, running late and lost, Gee, a device can be so helpful too. We invite our devices into cars as well. They're so handy to keep the kids occupied. And our devices, well, they go on holidays with us as well, and they take the best photos. And with each new version that's released, the photos are better and better. Screens have even impacted our relationship with our best friend. They accompany us to the supermarket so we can check our shopping list or call for help. Our reliance on them is boundless, and this sets a very honest and real context when exploring how our children relate to screens too. They are so convenient, even though this dentist looks a little miffed. And as technology and devices around the internet has exploded, a guidebook for parents on how to navigate this with their kids actually never really kept pace. Instead, we tend to make up rules on the run. And the rules in one family are entirely different to the rules in another family. And I'm not doing wrongs and rights. Without a doubt, the internet, devices and screens have changed our world and how we behave. And do remember that our kids have played no part in this. They are inheriting this amazing and purpose-built temptation. It is not their fault. They are the victims. They need us on their side. Their best hope is for us to truly understand, to be sensible and measured in what we do. And eventually, they can make choices that actually advantage them. This is indeed a huge work in progress. Let's move to the third and final ring here in the big top, where all things about the internet and devices just continue to be breathtaking. In this ring, I'll share several things about the science and psychology behind all of this. Now, the truth is, the ringmasters have left no stone unturned. They have spent billions of dollars to beguile those who enter the big top. Oh yes, they've employed the best psychological and big business teams to design devices, games, platforms and apps. Everything is delicious. How clever are they? They are clever, but equally their sneak attack is very well pitched as well. You see, they offer these temptations to children at a time in their lives when their self-regulatory on-off switches are a long way off being neurologically wired up. So they are very vulnerable. Plus, many games today do not have easy exit and save points. And if you're playing a game with a friend and being a true friend by having their back while you're under fire, you don't just leave the game and leave your friend because mum says dinner's ready. Let's bring a critical point into focus here. Our kids truly are the victims. The shameless truth is these ringmasters have superseded their own wildest dreams. Their programs, apps, their games are intoxicating because they've designed an inescapable positive feedback loop that occurs in the brain when using them. And this is why they are so beautifully desirable to us human beings. So the brain releases a neurotransmitter called dopamine, as the person experiences rewarding situations, especially playing video games. As the rewarding experience continues, the neuronal connections and memory connections associated with these euphoric experiences are strengthened and remodel the brain connections. When a video gamer stops, the brain loses its all-important stimulation. The upshot is the feeling of loss, where one feels at a loose end, disappointment, some degree of irritability, anger or sadness, even depression, when they stop. In extreme, some, just like Izzy, will not drink, will miss meals, will go without sleep to spend more time playing. They can suffer profound withdrawal symptoms. And in extremes, we know people of all ages become more introverted, emotionally wobblier, and display lower self-esteem. Secondly, the ringmasters have learnt how to increase our cravings for screens. It's all about how they've developed the like button and the beep when a text or an email notification is suddenly received. Now, I mentioned before that they've spared no money in buying wisdom from psychologists to maintain and manipulate screen habits of users. The psychologists explained the behaviour of Pavlov's dogs to the ringmasters, and they were amazed. You know about Pavlov and his dogs. So Pavlov showed that dogs could be easily conditioned. They were trained to salivate at the sound of a bell, ready to receive food. So the ringmasters, with the support of incredibly clever psychologists, now make digital users salivate at the sound of a beep as you receive the text or your email notification. Hard to let it go. And that's why. Okay, this also taps into a human's innate fear of missing out. And this has exploded into alerts for nearly everything today. And now you see why managing screens is the basis for a perfect storm in homes and classrooms globally. I do want to explore some solutions, and I will in just a moment. But for those of you who are here, I thought I'd just stop for a moment and just find out where your brains are up to after listening to that. Yeah. And you know, that's a really good starting place to feel sorry for your kids, because that actually puts our mind and our hearts in the best possible place to work with our kids. And that's what I want this workshop to set us up for. Anyone else? Yeah, okay. Yeah, when it's just so not his fault. Yeah, it's their fault. And we're trying to do the best we can to navigate it. So release yourself of that shame. You know, you're catching up and it's okay. And you can do really well. And that's one of the things that we can do as human beings. You know, we can head off in a different direction. We can do it differently. We can do it better. Yeah.
I'm just wondering how it impacts those children who already find it difficult with relationships.
Yeah.
Actually making it tougher.
Yeah.
Even harder than it would have been anyway.
So your cohort of kids is similar to my cohort of kids that are near and dear to me, and it makes it really hard for them. Yeah, and they've got a personality style that I'll talk about a little later where there's some obsession, it's hard to let go of things, there's some rigid thinking.
Trying to mimic things they see on
Yes,
TV, right?
yes,
TikTok and stuff.
yep, and then it takes over.
Their self,
Yep, you've got it. Yeah, we'll talk a bit about that. Yeah. Yeah.
I was going to say there's
Go.
also some anger. I'm a parent, and
Yes.
I'm an educator, but as a parent, it's really frustrating to know that my child only brings home homework that he needs a screen to be able to do, and that's like telling an alcoholic they have to be a bartender.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to police. Are you doing your homework, or do you have that side screen up and you're actually
Yeah.
doing something?
Yeah.
In that regard, I feel like the schools aren't being as supportive for parents trying to limit the screen time.
Yeah. I think you make a really good point. All I can say in support of schools is that I do know, because I work in so many schools all of the time, I do know that teachers are acutely aware of this issue. I talk to teachers who get really teary about the fact that they're trying to give the kids their best and they know that the kids are playing video games throughout their lessons. I've got teachers that I work with that will insist the kids have the lids of their laptops down the whole time while they teach and talk because they know what the alternative is. It's tough. Yeah.
I actually drive buses for schools, and as they're talking to some of the teachers,
Yeah.
they just feel as though they're obsolete.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
I'll be loud. It's all right. Oh, okay. Sorry. Is that working? Just from building on from before about the shame and
Yeah.
feeling guilty of it, I think there is no out now. We know there's no out. So
No.
we can limit that, which is, at home. We can do it, but unfortunately, friends of our children or of our class
Yeah.
will have that. So they're not. It's not that we want to hide it from them, but you try and limit it. You try and do what you can, but unfortunately, they're going to sort of get it in other areas. So feeling guilty is the natural thing for us to do.
Yeah.
But we try and help them. But sometimes
Yeah.
it's not going to help them because they're going to get it elsewhere. So it's sort of trying to think of ourselves, I guess, like alleviating the pain of that.
And
they will get it.
Really, it's just understanding that you can only do as much as you can only do. And it is why working with your kids really honestly, really astutely over time can put them in a position where when they're exposed to other things outside of your control, they'll make wise decisions because you've had those conversations. Because you know. Yeah.
we've got a range of kids from 29 down to 18,
Yes.
16 and 12.
Yes.
And to hear the 12-year-old say that it's unfair that the older ones get is even harder.
It is, isn't it? Yeah. And then you throw in the mix too that you can have 3 kids, same family, same mum and dad, same upbringing, lived in the same house forever, and you can have 2 kids who give their mum and dad a bit of a hard time over screen time, but they listen and it's okay. It's a bit of an arm wrestle from time to time, but it works out. And you can have the 3rd kid, same genes, but a different temperament, who just can't let it go. Yep. And we all know that. It's not a bad parent at work. It's just the way it is. Individual temperaments play a huge role here. Absolutely. Anyone else? Let's see what we can do, because there's a lot that we can do. But I wanted to give you that background in that kind of way, because I wanted it to really sit with you, because when it does sit with you beautifully, you kind of understand our kids really do need us, And we need to wrap our heads around this, because someone said before, none of this is going to go away. Okay. So I do want to finish up by starting to explore just some solutions. What can we do? Now, if I bare my soul to you, I do not believe that the internet and devices are bad. Far from it. But you will hear some say that our IQ is dropping and that our dependency on devices is also causing ADHD. Look, there may be some truth in that, but that whole equation, there's just not that simple easy either. The solution is a clever mix of ongoing work, remembering that our kids are being exposed to years of research to design such enticing games, platforms and apps on their devices. And the goal that I want to work through are ways in which we can keep a balance between real life and screen life. So let's allow your understanding and your leadership and your ingenuity to create some really helpful guidance for your kids. We should begin by developing our own expectations. You know, that guidebook that's never been written for us? The expectations, the rules, if you want to use that word, that seem to be different for every family. And really, in the end, you kind of do reap what you sow. And I think rules need to be different between families, because these rules will fit into your family values as well. But I think it's really important that you know what you want, so that your kids understand where the boundaries lie, that the boundaries are really visible. So what are your expectations? What about if we play a game? I'll ask you some questions, and in your head, answer me back. Stick with me, there's not lots. Okay. How do you know what your child does on the internet? How do you know they're safe? Are they more likely to be more or less safe than most kids their age? In other words, inherently, just in their style, do they present a greater risk? Would they tell you if they felt unsafe, were being harassed or trolled online? How do you know how much time they're spending on screens? If you do, how many hours a week? How many hours a day? How many hours is okay in your family per day? Do you know which sites they're visiting? Should you know, or should you just trust? Do you check their history? Should you check histories? Or is that too invasive, too distrusting, too rude? And what about your expectations on your kids using screens? Like, for example, when you're having dinner at home. When they take dinner to a chair, is it okay to have a screen? When you're sitting at the table together, is it okay for each of you to have screens up? or for someone to be texting someone? What about if your child's sitting in a dental chair or the orthodontist chair and a message comes through? Is it okay for them to slip out their phone and to respond? Is it okay for your kids to be using devices throughout the night? What's your expectations about when your kids are doing their homework? Is it okay for them to be playing games or to be on social media and to bring other screens up as they work through their homework? Is it okay for your kids to use screens on a long, long drive to somewhere? Yes. I've got to call it survival. Is it okay for your kids to use their own screens while you're watching a movie or you're having movie night together? Is it okay for your child to swear at friends while they're playing an online game and chatting with them because they're getting really agitated or excited? So how many hours did you say you give your kids each day for recreational use? Do you stick to the World Health Organisation's guidelines, or have you overshot that like most parents? Is it okay for kids to have no gaming Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays? At what age does that change? What do you do with devices at bedtime and then throughout the night? Is it okay for your kids to go to bed with devices under their pillows? I know plenty of adults who do. Now, I know that without us discussing those answers, there will be an amazing variation in this room. It will be huge. So the truth is, each of us must find our own way with our own kids. It's how well we work with our kids around these questions and those answers that will make the greatest difference. I'll be brave. I'll offer an opinion. I think bedrooms should be for quiet thinking, relaxing, resting, musing, and sleep. Generally speaking, I think it's just a humble opinion. That's all. Anything that works against healthy sleep hygiene principles have no place in a bedroom. There also appears, that one, I think. There also appears to be a massive trend for parents to set their boys up with a giant screen, PlayStation or similar, a gaming headset, and a gaming chair in their bedrooms. Please forgive me, I'm going to be brave again. But screens and devices, in my humble opinion, have no place in a child's bedroom. And I know most of our houses are smaller rather than larger, and this always creates space and logistical issues, but a good rule of thumb is keep this activity in shared spaces rather than bedrooms. This brings us to the shocking question of how important are video game classifications? Well, I see them as a pretty good guide. Yet I see enough parents allowing their kids to play games classified well above their age. And these are not bad or negligent parents at all. I like them so much. And in their defence, I absolutely get it. And it is their kids have browbeaten them into submission. You see, their friends have it. And being online, playing the game and chatting with friends after school, that's a powerful social connector for many. Most children and teens that I work with, they'll limit their chat function to contacts, and they'll usually play with their face-to-face friends from school. And as well, it's wise to develop some really common understandings to help your kids stay safe online. More on that later. Once video game genres were really clear-cut. There were either first shooter games or not. Not anymore. Now there's a growing variety of genres. On screen are 10 of the most common video game categories that we see kids playing today. And I've put a couple of examples of the games next to each one. Some or a few might ring a few bells. If you're looking at these and you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed, I can help you. Take a few deep, slow breaths. Get a coffee and research the video game your child wants. There are heaps of reviews online, and you will make your mind up really quickly whether this is right for your child in the moment. I have a dear friend, not many, because they don't like me, many people. I have a dear friend, Simon Andrews. He's a psychologist, and he works at OK Psychology. And he'll tell you that he is totally swamped with teens who are fixated by the internet and by gaming and by social media. And over the last 6 years, dear Simon, he's provided a brief wilderness experience called Tech-Free Wilderness Weekends. It's a psychology program where a parent and their child can experience 2 days without screens in one of Australia's most beautiful national parks, the Coorong. Activities with Simon include kayaking alongside huge sand dunes, a bush tucker walk, a night walk to see marine creatures, and picnicking by the Southern Ocean. Most importantly, young people learn why they are drawn to this technology, the stuff that I started off with tonight. They need to know this stuff. They're given the tools to assess their screen use and the impact it's having on their life without being judged. And they're taught new skills for coping with different feelings and behaviours that arise around the use of screens and then the absence of screens. And they're taught strategies to re-engage with friends face to face, to re-engage with learning, with the people in your family, in a way that's not dominated by screens. Following the weekend away, there are post-program follow-up sessions to help maintain the new behaviours. Last year, one of my 14-year-old boys did a weekend away with Simon and his dad and 10 other teens. He absolutely adored the experience. He didn't even want to go. He loved the learning that came from it because it just made sense to him. And it actually deepened the connection between him and his dad. But most importantly, I asked him not so long ago how he was handling managing time, getting that balance between screen life and real life. His answer? Well, I still love gaming. but I'm not addicted. There's a little voice in my head and it's back. And it nags me to keep a better balance. Before that, the little voice was shut down and it was mum and dad trying to shame me. The volume of sharing nude photos and videos of body parts between young teens is widespread. It's estimated to run at about 50%, so 50% of teens will share. More than 80% receive images of girls they kind of know at school. Now, as you realise, most young teens giving, receiving and forwarding naked images are filled with good, but they are desperately seeking a way to be popular, approved, valued, included, accepted or loved. And this is the driver behind this kind of behaviour. The technology at their disposal does this so fast and so fluidly that it can easily outstrip their rational thinking. No pun intended, of course. Education is our most serious ally, and that's a huge one to take away tonight. The Hunting, which is on screen, is a 4-part television series that can be streamed from the SBS platform. The series is absolutely outstanding. How many of you have seen it? So about a quarter. Okay, good. It explores the lives of 4 teens, their teachers and families as the nude teen photo scandal unravels. It's a great series to watch with your kids. Many educators in schools are taking The Hunting much further by using well-developed lesson guides to highlight the consequences of image-based abuse. Be sure to catch Mirror Mirror with Todd Sampson. Its 2nd season with 2 episodes has just been shown on Channel 10. Todd investigates how the internet is affecting our relationships and the impact it's having on our lives. You can retrieve it from 10 Play. It is worth its weight in gold. I'd watch it first. I'd watch The Hunting first by yourselves without your kids, and then you make that judgment whether it's appropriate to watch it with your kids. Here's an image of a 10-year-old wielding a gun in one hand and a knife in the other, screaming with headphones hooked up to his gaming console. Why did I choose it? I chose it because it blatantly suggests that our kids will become crazed killers if they play first shooter video games. And we have known for years that even the first shooter games don't generally turn kids into haters, hunters, or killers. We now know from very well-regarded studies that a few children and teens do show increases in aggression-related thoughts and decreases in helping behaviours as a result from aggressive video game exposure. As well, there are mild, and I'm reinforcing mild, links between too many aggressive video games too early and children who become involved in physical fights, argue with authority figures and perform poorly in schools. Plus, there are 2 other things I've gleaned from my work with families. Many parents tell me I need to gently limit my child's gaming, often in little parcels of 30 minutes, because much longer than that, I can see that they are abrasive, argumentative, short-tempered, and can't easily fit back into real life after too long. Other parents will say, all he talks about after he gets off the game is the bloody game. He can't switch it off in his head. Well, I think when this happens, it's a sign that this child is not emotionally ready for that game. Or they may need to be taught how to keep it in their head, because not everybody is interested in them reliving their game over and over. Most parents that I work with say screen time is not a given simply because the sun comes up. Most think it's unwise to cultivate a routine where kids wake automatically and plug in. But it's such a joy to have a slow Saturday or Sunday morning while the kids are entertained by a screen just for a couple of hours. So be clever. If you want a slow start on those mornings, then formalise that that's one of their screen time packages. Generally speaking, most of the families I work with choose not to have their kids plugged into screens before school. Screens stay off, as there's always a lot to do in a precious amount of time. In a few cases, parents do introduce a short amount of screen time before school as an incentive for kids to get things done and be ready for school. Try it by all means, but be prepared to drop it if it doesn't pay the results you set out to get. Most families build screen time into weekday afternoons or evenings. My cleverest families create simple expectations and stick to it. The expectation is that for a child to receive their screen time later in the day, they've got to have shown some cooperation through the day, some basic respectfulness, done their chores, out the way. I work with a beautiful group of kids. There's a little sign out the front of my work, and it must say, I can't find it, but it must say, boys only. You must have autism, and Mark's going to like you a lot better if you also have ADHD and some other stuff. They're my clients, and I love my clients so much. Some of them, though, are fairly fixed in their thinking and fairly obsessional. And so they have an insatiable appetite for screens, and their on-off switch is very poorly developed. It's all or nothing and angry. And it's completely consuming. And this is so very, very hard on their beautiful parents to deal with. I truly live this and know this. So if you're in this space, tread gently, temper some of the advice that I might give at a talk like this, temper some of the wisdom you'll hear from other parents, because yours is a different journey. Yes, the ideal is for you to restore some balance in their lives as much as you can. Absolutely. But this may never get close, to the perfect solution that the parents next door have got. For this special group of parents, this journey is so much more complex. They need to measure success through a very different set of lenses. And these parents have my absolute respect, because what they face is a pretty relentless challenge. Every bit of success depends on their active, their poised and continuous management. Hey, just a quick thing. Once upon a time, when you were kids, you got home from school, you had a snack, you burst out of the front door, you headed off with your friends, maybe on your bike. Today, we don't like our kids roaming. It's not safe. Today, we encourage our kids to be home. And being on a screen is a natural consequence of being home, especially when they can chat with their friends who they are already missing at the other end of the screen. So here's my question. Has the selection of available activities in your house shrunk over time and just gradually become overshadowed by the pull to screens? Do your kids involve themselves in any of these that are on screen behind me? If these activities have given away more and more to screen time, now you're likely to understand a part of the issue. And it's not your fault either. It's insidious. It's like erosion. We still want our kids to have fun on screens, but help ease them away from excessive use. You may even introduce one screen-free afternoon or evening a week where you play board games or any kind of games instead. Creating schedules and timetables actually works well for a lot of families. It helps kids feel secure about when and how much time they can spend on screens each day. Be sure they're given a reasonable amount of time, because it's frustrating having to get off 15 minutes after you've started. Also consider how you might break their screen time up into manageable parcels of time, rather than being with the screen for too long. And the families who do best use this golden rule. It's such a simple golden rule. The rule is that when your child exits the screen gracefully, they maintain an opportunity to return to it tomorrow or the next day. However, when your child rants and refuses to get off at the agreed time, they lose the opportunity to return tomorrow or the next time. Keep it simple, be kind, be so boring. And I promise you, if you do, your kids will learn in a heartbeat. The primary focus for this workshop is about supporting our kids to get the screen balance right. I must mention, however, the Office of the E-Safety Commissioner. Make this your site to go to. This is the most fabulous site, and it will answer any questions that you've got about anything to do with games or the internet. It is fantastic. So this is your go-to forever and ever. And it's a friendly, easy to navigate site that's deep with good information. Okay. The best security your child can have is the knowledge and trust that you've built together along the way. And I guess that's what I wanted tonight to be about, to reinforce that. And then they're more inclined to seek help if things were going bad for them online, on social media, or worse. Many of the young teens I work with tell me something that I should share with you. They tell me they would not seek help from their parents if something went wrong. And there are 3 reasons why they will not seek help from their parents. And you can take these 3 reasons out of what happens in your family. My parents will overreact. They will go on and on trying to teach me a life lesson that I already know. Number 2, my parents will overreact. And then they will stop my access to social media, which is my lifeline to my friends. Number 3, my parents will overreact. And then this burns me up, because I feel like I should have been able to handle this myself at 13. And I've also made some mistakes along the way, which I don't want my parents to find out. And what are the chances of your kids receiving online hate messages, being bullied, threatened and stalked? The Australian E-Safety Commissioner says about 1 in 2 young people report online bullying and hate messages at the moment, and it's ramped up considerably since the start of COVID. Reasons are usually due to their gender, sexual orientation, race, religion, disability or transgender identity. And interestingly, most who get singled out for abuse know who their harassers are, because there is often a real life connection. They're people they know already. They're not randoms. Also, there's a host of parental control apps that can restrict, filter, and monitor the use of devices, as well as the time that's spent on devices. Now, I understand that parental control software may be the only solution in a few situations, but I'm going to offer another humble opinion. But to me, this kind of tool will never replace the skillful guidance of a parent. But some of these are terrific to help monitor the times that you spend. And that's good for good conversation without shaming. As well, don't forget this dear man, Richard Pascoe. He's known as the Adelaide Tech Guy. He's got a radio show on 5AA. He's just amazing. He's got a wealth of information around technology, keeping kids safe, keeping families safe. He's always ready to talk about it, privately or on his show. You text him, he'll get back to you. All of his Tech Talk Back are podcasts that you can track down and listen to him. He's got just so much information and willing to help you as well. So to wrap up, my mission has been to help you appreciate the complexity of the internet and all things screens. I wanted to kickstart how you might better work with your kids so they're more likely to be on side. We must be careful not to turn their desire for screens into that chase for forbidden fruit. And as soon as they know that your mission is to be the screen police, the battle's on. So change your tact. Instead, be clever. Watch a few of their YouTube clips. Understand what they enjoy. Ask your kids to teach you how to play the games that they love and play. And then follow up. Sit with them. Have a teaching time where they can coach you, even if you're hopeless. Respect their love for screens and progressively help them to balance their obligations. It's all about, remember, managing time. That's the phrase. Oh, isn't it a brave new world? Good luck with it. All right. I thought to wrap up, let's just go back and talk. Yeah. I hope that second part gave you some hope, because there's a lot we can do. Any thoughts?
I'll ask one quick question.
Uh-oh.
This is quite a specific question. My child likes to listen to an audible to go to sleep.
Yeah.
Finds it very soothing.
Yeah.
it's a screen, it's in there. Any thoughts on that? Any thoughts on young children and listening to stories? They've done their school reading, they've done reading with parents, and any thoughts on that?
Look, I think that's really fine. Like, I think that if they love drifting off to sleep, listening to that story, and you know that that's exactly what they do, and you can sneak back in once they're asleep and you can take the device away, well, I think it's a beautiful thing. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's for me, a really genuine place for a device.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm curious, you talked a lot about like the complexities of the online world and phones and screens and the dangers and the difficulties and all of that. What are the benefits for a young person, like a child? What are the actual benefits of screens, social media, internet? Because I can't see a whole lot, and I'd love to hear your perspective on why would we
allow kids to do that?
I'd love to hear your perspective on that.
Okay. So look, my initial thing would be that it connects. It's where you're connected to your friends, and I know this sounds really crazy to lots of you, but I've been doing this long enough with kids who will connect with their friends that they've got at school through online, but they will also, over time, become quite wise and connect to online communities and friends that they've made for a long time online, even to the point where I've got young people that I work with who are now, adults, and they're catching up with friends in Melbourne or Sydney that they first met when they were 12 or 14, and they forged the best friendships in the world. So for me, I think a big part of my world is mental health. And I just think connection is everything, and I think it does offer us another way to connect with each other. Yeah. Plus it's fun, creative, enjoyable. Yeah.
So I just wondered if children should be using devices like less in schools, or is there a very clear distinction between using devices in schools and then using them at home for fun things? Yeah,
because like I mentioned with the World Health Organization, they talk about the fact that the 2 hours for kids, I think it was 12 and above, would be after using the device at school. So that's on top of school.
Does it create bad habits using devices in schools, or not?
Well, I don't think so, because I kind of think every workplace you're using a device too. So it's really just doing the same.
And how do you manage those, like I get criticised at home, but you're always on your device.
Yeah.
I'm like, but I'm working.
Yeah.
And then they'll say, oh, but I'm doing schoolwork. So how do you manage those kind of
Good luck. No, because good luck. Because you're just going to have to manage that, because that's the reality. You are probably on your device a lot with work at home. They probably do need to be on their device sometimes for schoolwork, but it's what we model. And maybe we need to think about, instead of grabbing our device those 221 times a day in front of our kids, some of those 221 times a day needs to be in another room away from our kids, so we're not modelling that we are constantly on our phones. Maybe we just need to be cleverer. Yeah.
That modeling is a fun one. We have, and my partner established, we have several teams in our house.
Yeah.
And so we've got MacBooks for each one from school. One has an iPad, and they each have phones, which are important for communication.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we have a charging station. There's not enough electrical outlets in homes built. But, the kids really, when we first started having each child, this is where your laptops are. You each have a drawer.
Yeah.
They're intended for shoes and storage. Now, they work great for laptops.
Yeah.
And this is mom and dad's drawer. 9 o'clock, the kid just goes in. 9:30, 10 o'clock, mom and dad's go in the same spot. And really, they
Yeah, that's great. It's good, Mike. And this is, seriously, this is what I hear all the time too. I love what you're doing, by the way. I absolutely applaud what you're doing, because that's a really good habit to get into for kids and for ourselves. I do the same. And but your kids will always tell you that their friends are doing differently. And I guess all you've got to do is hold your line. And that's why I wanted to introduce those questions partway through with solutions. It's really important to have the answers to those questions. And it doesn't matter if they're slightly different to somebody else's.
Yeah. They mimic what you do.
Yeah.
If you're on your screens all the time.
They will, yeah. I'll stop there. You've been gorgeous to work with. And so have you at home, by the way. Hardly heard a word from you. Thanks for coming out tonight. Okay, cheers.
So thank you all. And for people at home, for people that have not been able to log on straight away, this is being recorded, so please reach out and we will provide a copy of that link. So I just want to thank firstly Amanda, the principal of Macaulay and Macaulay, for providing this venue tonight. We have come in and taken over, so thank you very much. If we can give a hand to Amanda. Also our hard-working AV people, if you do need AV people, AV Plus, they are brilliant. They do everything. I could not be worse at AV, IT, it all. So the guys behind you, so please thank them also. And once again, just a small gift and thank you very much to Mark. I certainly have learnt a lot. I've taken a lot of notes. I've seen lots of people scribbling things down. I've gone the full circle. I got pretty scared at the start, kind of came down, went scared again, and I think I've got some tips that I can go home with. So thank you very much, and thanks for coming.